Bolt Nation, something is brewing in Los Angeles, and if you can feel this team building towards something bigger, hit subscribe right now, because the Chargers are sending signals all over this offseason. We're talking about a major question on the edge, a rebuilt offensive line, a backfield that suddenly looks a lot more complicated, and a draft rumor that could completely reshape the identity of this defense. And when you stack all of that together, this does not feel like random offseason chatter. This feels like a team trying to put a real blueprint in place. This feels like an organization saying, we know exactly where we got exposed, and we are not going to sit still. So lock in, smash that like button, and tell me right now, are you feeling more fired up or more nervous about where the Chargers are heading? Let's start with the biggest issue on defense, because this one jumps off the screen. The Chargers need another edge rusher, period. Not in theory, not as some luxury ad. They need one. Last season showed exactly why. When Khalil Mack finally got healthy and the Chargers had a more complete trio with Mack, Tuli Tuipolotu, and Odafe Owe, the entire pass rush changed. The pressure looked faster, cleaner, more coordinated. The sacks started coming. The front finally had that wave effect where offenses could not just survive one guy and move on. That matters. That is not some minor detail. That is the difference between a defense that can close and a defense that just hangs around. Now Owe is gone, and suddenly that third piece is missing again. And this is where the Joey Bosa conversation starts pulling at people emotionally. Because let's be honest, Chargers fans do not hear that name and stay calm. There is history there. There is respect there. There is memory there. It sounds good. It feels familiar. It feels like maybe, just maybe, there's one more run left in it. But if we're being real, this team cannot build the next version of its defense by chasing old feelings. Bosa still gave you some production in 2025, sure, but at this stage, betting on him to be the reliable answer for a role this important feels like trying to win tomorrow with yesterday's solution. That is dangerous. The smarter move feels obvious. Draft it. Go get a young edge on day 2. Add speed, bend, hunger, and cost-controlled upside. Bring in somebody who can help now in a rotation, and maybe become something bigger down the road when the torch eventually has to pass from Mack. That is how sustainable teams think. That is how you build a pass rush that survives injuries and keeps evolving. So tell me, Bolt Nation, what are you doing if you're running this front office? Are you bringing Bosa back for one more shot, or are you turning the page and investing in the future? Now let's flip to the offensive line, because if you want to know whether this team can actually unlock Justin Herbert the way fans have been begging for, this is where the answer starts. The Chargers got absolutely wrecked up front in 2025. Rashawn Slater missed the whole season. Joe Alt lost major time. Continuity disappeared. Chemistry never had a chance. And when the line gets unstable, everything gets dragged down with it. The run game gets inconsistent. The pocket gets muddy. The timing breaks. The whole offense starts living on survival instincts instead of rhythm. But now here comes the reset. Slater is coming back. Alt is coming back. Bradley Bozeman retired. Zion Johnson is gone. Mekhi Becton is gone. Tyler Biadasz comes in at center. Cole Strange gets added. Trevor Penning is part of the new plan. That is not a tweak. That is a serious remodel. That is the Chargers looking at the interior of the line and saying, this is not good enough. We are changing it. But here's the catch, and this is where things get really interesting. These moves are not risk-free, not even close. Strange and Penning are former first-round picks, yes, but they are also guys carrying disappointment, questions, and a lot of unfinished business. These are not polished slam-dunk answers. These are bets. Bets on fit, bets on coaching, bets on a better environment, bets that maybe these guys can still become more than what they've shown. And if those bets cash in, this changes everything for the offense. Suddenly, Herbert has cleaner pockets. Suddenly, the run game has a chance to become consistent. Suddenly, the whole unit can play with more aggression, more balance, more confidence. But if those bets miss, then we're going right back into the same painful conversation about interior pressure wrecking drives before they even start. And don't ignore the money side either. The Chargers still have cap flexibility. There are veteran options still floating around. So this story might not be over. They could still decide they need one more proven body in there. But if they stand pat, then what they're really telling you is this. They believe scheme, development, and a healthier overall structure can unlock what raw talent and draft status alone never did. That is a bold bet. Maybe the right one, maybe a dangerous one, but either way, it is a bet that could define the entire ceiling of the offense. So let me hear it. Do you trust this new look line, or do the Chargers still need one more real investment before this thing feels safe? And then we get to the backfield, and this one might split the fan base more than any of the others. Omarion Hampton may not be the workhorse back a lot of people expected in 2026. And for some fans, that's going to sound like a problem. But slow down, because this may not be bad news at all. It may actually be a clue to what this offense wants to become. Hampton's rookie season had all kinds of twists. He started behind Najee Harris, then Harris went down, and Hampton got thrown into a much bigger role. You saw flashes, real flashes. You saw why the Chargers valued him. You also saw the normal rookie bumps, some inconsistency with vision and patience early on, then improvement, then the injury. And while he was sidelined, Kamani Vidal stepped up and showed he deserves real touches too. That already made things interesting. Then the Chargers add Keaton Mitchell, and now the picture changes completely. Because once you put Hampton, Vidal, and Mitchell in the same room, this no longer looks like a backfield designed for one guy to dominate touches every week. This looks like a committee with different flavors of danger. One can punish defenses, one can stabilize the flow, one can hit a crease and turn the whole field into a track meet. And if Harbaugh really wants physicality while Mike McDaniel wants stress, motion, variation, and matchup conflict, then this setup starts making a lot of sense. It may not feed one player's stat line, it may not make fantasy football people happy, but from the Chargers' perspective, this could be exactly what the offense needs. It could make them less predictable, it could keep players fresher, it could let them attack defenses differently from quarter to quarter. And maybe that is the real story here. Maybe Hampton is still central to the plan, just not as a one-man workload machine. Maybe the smarter version of this offense is a rotating attack that forces defenses to solve a new problem every series. That does not mean Hampton failed. That could mean the Chargers are finally building a run game with layers instead of just hope. So what do you want? Do you want Hampton getting feature back volume every week? Or do you want the three-headed version if it makes this offense more explosive overall? And now, here comes the draft angle. And this one is fascinating because it screams upside, risk, and projection all at once. A recent mock draft connected the Chargers to Auburn defensive lineman Keldric Faulk at number 22, and this is exactly the kind of name that creates instant argument, because Faulk is not the easy, clean, no-drama prospect. He's the kind of player that makes people dream big and worry big at the same time. The athletic upside is real, the physical gifts are obvious, the long-term ceiling gets your attention immediately, but the concerns are real too. He is not a polished, fully formed pass rusher walking into the league with everything figured out. He is more of a moldable weapon, a projection, a coaching challenge, a swing, and that is what makes the fit question so important. The Chargers lost Owe, they lost Otito Ogbanya, they lost Deshaun Hand, Jesse Minter moved on. So this defense is not just patching cracks anymore. It is trying to establish what the next version of itself will be. And in that context, a player like Faulk makes a ton of sense. Not because he is safe, but because he offers the kind of payoff that can alter the front for years if you get it right. This becomes a Jim Harbaugh bet, a development bet, a culture bet, a coaching bet. Can this staff take a player with raw ability, size, burst, and upside and actually turn him into a weapon on Sundays? If the answer is yes, then this is the kind of pick that changes the whole conversation around the defense. If the answer is no, then it becomes one more example of betting on traits without getting the production. That is why this is such a charged debate. Some fans will want the higher floor, the safer projection, the more polished player. Others will look at Faulk and say this is exactly how you land a difference maker late in the first round. So where are you on it? Are you chasing ceiling, or are you taking the safer path? And when you step back and look at all of it together, this is why this offseason feels so important. The Chargers are not making random moves. They are trying to define themselves. They are trying to answer real questions about toughness, depth, protection, explosiveness, and future upside. They are trying to build a team that can survive adversity better than it did last year, and finally start playing like a team that expects to matter in January. Not every move is comfortable. Not every answer is proven. Some of this is risky. Some of this is speculative. Some of this is going to come down to coaching, health, and whether these bets actually hit. But the direction is there. The intent is there. And if even a few of these moves click the way the Chargers hope they will, this team could look very different very fast. So if you're riding with the Bolts, hit like, subscribe, share this with another Chargers fan, and tell me the one storyline out of all of this that matters most. Because one thing is clear, the Chargers are loading the board, the pressure is building, and if this thing starts to come together, the rest of the league is going to feel that lightning strike.